Hello and welcome to another series of modern videos. Today I will bring you one of my favorite decks, Living End. I will be competing in a series of two-man queues since I don't have time this week to play a modern day event. So, to the deck. It basically evolves around this card, Living End, that says exile all creatures from all graveyards, then all players sacrifices their creatures, and then all the exiled creatures will return to the battlefield. So, in other words, the creatures on the field dies and the creatures in the graveyard comes back. So the whole deck is filled with cards with cycling, so I will be able to discard them to draw more cards. Like Street Wraith, Pay to Life to cycle it, and so on. And it also contains a small land destruction package in Fulminator Mages that I can sacrifice to destroy non-basic land, and Avalanche Riders, which has Echo. So every card here in some way will end up in the graveyard. So when I cast one of those two spells, Demonic Dread and Violent Outburst that has Cascade, I will reveal cards from the top of my library until I hit Living End, because that's the only spell in the whole deck that costs less than 3 mana. See, 3 mana, 4 mana, 5 mana, 6 mana, 7 mana, and so on. So the Cascade only has one target, and that's Living End. So it's very rare to suspend the card. Instead, you cascade into it and get to cast it for free. So against like a slow opponent, some kind of controlish deck, you want to drop your land destruction creatures to either draw out their counter spells or blow up their lands, so they have less resources to fight you with. And at the same time, you will be filling up your graveyard with lots of big creatures that will return to the battlefield when you successfully cast Living End. In the main board I also run 4 Beasts Within to destroy any permanent of my choice. It could be anything from like a Gavany Township to Deathrite Shaman and swords and planeswalkers and whatever I feel I need to destroy. So it's a nice catch-all, and the token will be permanently gone once I resolve Living End. And there's a lot of different versions of this deck now. I personally love this land destruction backup plan, because that makes you able to go to the late game and actually just play your big creatures. And that's something a lot of players is unaware of, that this deck can actually just cast 4/5s and 5/6s, and there's like Path to Exile that could kill them, and maybe a Terminator too, but other than that, they reign supreme on the battlefield. And once these big creatures hits the field, your opponents are sitting with like 3 lands and can't do much to fight it. And every resource they use to kill them will put them low on mana, and then Living End will just seal the deal. I also run 1 Dried Arbor as my only come into play tapped land, or it doesn't come into play tap, but I can't use it for mana. And that's simply because I can fetch it up and use it as a blocker to gain me an extra turn, or trade with like a turn 1 Delver or something. So that's basically the deck. You could run like what's it called, Regenerate Swamp Cycle guy, and you could also run, I've seen recent lists with a 3-drop that you can remove counters to gain life, but I'm not really a fan of those cards. I like my Avalanche Riders and Fulminator Mages. Onto the sideboard. This sideboard has been evolving quite a bit, but I feel like 4 Leyline of the Void is necessary. to either fight the various combo decks that exists and other decks that are good on putting creatures into the graveyard, like Reanimator and so on. Then I run 4 Shriek Maws, which is my removal spell of choice. It buys me a lot of time, and then when it comes back with Living End, it gets to kill something again, and then I have a 3/2 Fear on the field, which is quite good. Then I elected to run 4 Kitchen Finks as a kind of mid-game threat / defensive creature. Sometimes they just let it resolve and I get to start bashing at the life, and eventually they will have to deal with it, and that's the time when you get an opportunity to try to resolve Living End. It's also really nice that it has persist. It just gains you so much life. Then I only have 3 Ingot Chewers. The affinity matchup is pretty poor in my experience, at least if they get to resolve Arcbound Ravager, because then they can sack their whole team and get it back. But 3 is alright. Most decks doesn't run enough artifacts for me to want to bring it in, so other cards you can consider for your sideboard is Gnaw to the Bone instead of like a Kitchen Finks, which is quite good and often unexpected. But I've tested it and I just feel that it often sits in my hand and I never get the chance to play it for enough life, or I have to do something else with the mana that turn or something. You could also run like Maelstrom Pulse to have another catch-all to complement the Beast Within. But I don't like the 3 mana sorcery removal spell, because I want to threaten to use Violent Outburst, since it's an instant. The card I'm most inclined to bring back into the sideboard is Sudden Death. The 3 mana -4/-4 split second instant is really good against decks like Splinter Twin and the pod decks. But you can only find place for like 2 at the very most, and then it gets a bit too random for me. Like, oh yes, I drew my Sudden Death, then I won this match. But other matches, I just won't find it. It's not guaranteed to find a Kitchen Finks if you bring in 4 either, but the chances go up very high. So that's the deck I'm gonna run today. I plan to do 4 games. And let's hope that we find decent opponents with decent decks. So I hope you will enjoy it, and I will see you in the first match.